Okay, so hello folks, and I think we are live now. So, hello Vraj. I hope you are
Yeah,
doing
I am.
great, and just wanna check out the energy. So, since we have just started, wanna know everybody in the chat how you all are doing, and if you are able to just see us, if the streaming and everything is working fine, just give us a thumbs up or anything in the chat section, and then we'll just start the session. So, yes, I can see some people saying hello. So, yeah, hello to everyone. Hello, Abhishek. Hello, Vaishnavi. And yeah, so first of all, let's just talk about Vraj. So, hey, Vraj, how are you doing right now? And how are things going on?
Yeah, so I was just submitting my project for MLHX hackathon and I just hoping to get live in this session. So yeah, like pretty much I'll talk about myself. So I'm a third year student, computer science student, pursuing my BTech in computer science engineering from ITM Vocational University, which you might don't know. It's okay. And yeah, so I reside in Vadodara, Gujarat. And yeah, basically I'm a diploma student, so I completed my diploma of 3 years and then I started my BTech. So I studied I'm studying computer science since last 4 years. Then yeah, so let's say about my skills. So I'm an Android developer. I also know machine learning, Python. Then I have also explored the field of AR, VR, and yeah, pretty much everything. Like I've explored everything. But yeah, I'm good in Android development right now and also exploring more on the blockchain development.
So as far as I know, you're doing a lot of things in Android, Web3, a lot of domains, right?
Yeah, like not a lot of domains, but yeah, I have picked 2 3 domains. And Android is like I have to do it because of the GSOC, and yeah,
Yeah.
now I want to shift towards the Web3 mostly. So yeah, that's what I'm currently focusing.
Okay. So Raj has spoken about himself also, but let me just introduce the speaker so that like we'll all start the session. So first of all, a little bit about myself. So I'll be hosting today's session. I'm Ankur Gupta. I'm the GDSC lead of UIT RGPV. I'm running my own community known as SemiKolan. I'm also a GitHub campus expert. And today we have with us Vraj Desai. So Vraj is also a fellow campus expert. He's also a GitHub campus expert with me. And he's a Google Summer of Code participant at Opia Foundation right now. And as he's already told you, he's like doing a lot of things. He's into Android. He's going into Web3 right now, and a lot of things coming his way. So let's just start the session. So we don't have anything specific like presentation slides or anything for the session. So we'll just be keeping this interactive. Even if any of you folks have any doubts, if you want to hop into the stream and want to interact with us, we'll be very happy to host you here. We'll be happy to take out your doubts in the comment section. So throughout the session, if you feel like there's anything that you want to ask, feel free to ask them out in the chat section, and we'll be happy to hold to answer your questions. So first of all, let's start with Vraj. Since the topic for today is demystifying open source. So first of all, let's just talk about open source, like what generally open source is, like what is the people's perception towards open source, how they what's the first thing that came to your mind when you hear the term open source. So that's my question.
Okay, so I heard this term previously, like when I started my computer science, but yeah, open source is like basically a free software which everyone uses. Like we are using VLC media player, and there are lots of softwares we are using which are open source, like Mozilla Firefox is an open source. So yeah, I know about the open source previously, but I get to know more about it from the events like Hectoberfest. So my first contribution, I've done my first contribution in Hectoberfest, and from that I started my open source journey. So, like briefly, if I have to describe what is open source, so we can say like open source is basically any software, which is, or we can say, and any software or a code which is hosted on GitHub and which is open for all. So it is not in a closed environment. So anyone can check their the code, check the GitHub repo, and they can see like how the code is written, what are the issues are there, and who are the contributors of that particular project. So yeah, basically open source is just like basically a project which is open for all, and yeah, that's it, I guess. Or if I just have to define open source, but if I have to say about open source contributions and like what are the benefits of it, like I will explain it later. So yeah, basically it's yeah, that's I can say, like we'll discuss later in the next questions.
Yep. So basically, like there are a lot of benefits associated with open source, right? Like let's say I am contributing to a project, so through GitHub, anyone can like check out that this guy is contributing to this project, and he's done a lot of work. He's done this and that. So that's basically what also that also comes to my mind. So in my case, my first contribution was in Free Code Camp's repository. In case you heard about it, there's a like a very
Yeah.
beginner friendly repository in free code camp. So in that repository, all that you need to do is there's a contribution.md file or something like that. So you just need to add your names into that file, and that's how like you can get started with it. You can like fork the repository, and you can like learn about all the basic fundamentals like forking, creating a pull request, merging your request, and everything through that. So that's a like a very beginner friendly repository to start with. Then there's a lot of open source programs that we'll be talking about today also. So yeah, going further into the questionnaire. Okay, since I have a particular question for that, what was your first open source contribution and what motivated you to go for it? Uh,
Okay. So my first contribution, as I said, I started from Hectoberfest. So I just searched randomly like what are the good first issues. So there is this website called goodfirstissues.dev. So you can check that, you can check it out. So I filtered out like I was familiar with an Android development and Python at that moment. So like I searched and I found one good pretty issue for Python, and I just checked like what is the issue, and I commented on that issue, and the reviewer and whatever the org admin of that issue or that of that repository will just commented that hey, like you can now work on it, and I have just like worked on that issue, and it will get merged. So this way I get started, and yeah, so I can say like my open source journey started from Hectoberfest, and also I got motivated to do open source from Kunal Kushwaha. And yeah, like he's the first person from whom I learned like what is open source and how to get started with it. So I watched his videos, and after that I also learned so much from Eddie. So maybe you know Eddie Hub community. So yeah, like I also contributed in just some basic repos, like just to know how to contribute. So I've learned it from the Eddie Hub community, and yeah, that's how I get started. And yeah, for the GSOC, I can say specifically, I searched on their website. Like there are various organizations. So if you go to the Google Summer of Code website, you will get the past organizations and current organizations which are participating. So like if I'm talking about this year, so you will get the list of the organizations which have participated in 2022. So like last year when I was just getting started, I searched, I look at the repositories of Google Summer of the projects which are listed in Google Summer of Codes website, and I just go through each and every, and I filtered out like what are related to my tech stack. So at that moment I know Android development, so I go through that Android, I filtered it, and I found this Opia, which is a pretty cool project. And yeah, just I just look at that issues. So basically like if you are just getting started to any project, first look out for the good first issues, and before doing that, join that channel. So like every open source project which they have a readme, and you just have to read that document, like how to in that basically you will get the setup instructions or the basic idea about that project. And there are also various communication channels. So every project follows some different communication channels. Some follows like Discord or Gitter or like Google Chat. Like in Opia we follow Google Chat. So yeah, basically like that, I just joined their communication channels, and I read their README file and learned what they are doing. After that, I go through the issues, and I found one good first issue. So yeah, basically that's how I get started. And one more good thing which happened to me is that in Opia, we have this thing like whenever you, so basically first to get started, you have to fill one form, CLA form, which is a non-disclosure form kind of thing. So you have to fill that form, and after that, you will get a mail back from Opia, and you will be assigned with a mentor. So when I was just getting started with open source, I was assigned with one mentor, and he guided me that on what issues I could work. And if I get stuck anywhere, I just have to simply DM him or just mail him that, hey, like I'm stuck on this issue, and he's always ready to help me. So like this is how I started. Like I got an amazing mentor who is still in touch with me, and is my mentor in Google Summer of Code also. So yeah, like that's what I can say. Like my open source journey started.
Okay, great. So, like, tell me about your first contribution was in the repository which you mentioned, right? And then there's GSOC. So, tell
Yeah,
me
there is this.
the timeline between that, like before
Okay.
GSOC, how you contributed in other open source projects. How was your journey in
Uh,
that period of time?
yeah, so like before GSOC, I contributed to, I can say, a small projects. I haven't contributed in much bigger projects which have like 500 or 1,000 stars or have like more than 100 plus contributors. So it was a small projects which were created by the contributors who are not that, like that repositories were small. So yeah, like around, I can say around 2 to 3 months ago, I started with my open source contribution. Like it is actually before Hectoberfest, and after that, my main, why I'm saying that I started with Hectoberfest, because the previous contributions are not that much of value. So the valuable contributions I started from Hectoberfest, and in that, I can say like I started from Opia. So yeah, the timeline would be around 2 to 3 months. So my journey would be like I just found the issue, I try to solve it, and it will get merged. And then in Opia, I would like to explain more on my journey in Opia. So yeah, so can I go ahead with Opia, Ankur?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay. So in Opia, what happened is basically I know Android development, but I like previously whatever projects I have done is in Java, and in Opia we are using Kotlin. So I didn't know anything about Kotlin. I was just getting started with the Kotlin. I just read like completed that Android developers like the lessons which they have on Google developers website, and I didn't know much about Kotlin. But still, what I've done is I just push myself that no, I want to solve this issue. So I pick up the issue, and I start to solve it. And in that also, I face so many problems. Like if I remember, to solve my first issue in Opia, it would take around me 15 to 20 days just to solve a single issue. So it is not a very easy journey for me even to get started with my like most valuable contribution, like in Opia, which I just got started. So yeah, like in that time moment, I faced so many issues. There was some installation errors also, like my laptop is also not working good. So like the project is big, so in Android you need a good system, basically enough, like you should have some minimum requirement in your laptop, right, to run an Android
This
Studio. And
happens a
even
lot in Android Studio. Like all the Android developers can relate, I guess.
yeah, okay. And even like I have a decent setup, but the thing is the project is so big. Like if you run the Gradle, it will to build a Gradle, it will take around 5 to 7 minutes. So
Oh,
whenever I do any change, I just sit and see, okay, will this work or not? So this way,
and
like
5 to 7 minutes also on a good laptop.
on a
In
good laptop,
average
yeah, I
laptop,
have 16 GB of RAM.
like
Okay, in my laptop I have
in
16
other
GB of
cases
RAM,
it
and
will just don't work.
yeah, it will crash basically. So
Exactly.
yeah, like so it was also really like painful to get started, but yeah, like then I learned some ways like how we can also improve the performance of our system, and from that I've learned one important lesson that I need to shift from Windows to Ubuntu. So I have installed Ubuntu on dual boot, and still currently also like I'm using Ubuntu only. So yeah, that's how like the pain point started
Like,
from shifting
you
from
are
Windows to Ubuntu and getting my first valuable issue completed.
okay. So you are working on dual boot or just Ubuntu right now?
No, dual boot, because there are some things which I need to do on Windows also. And
Yeah,
Ubuntu,
like
like with Office and all, it won't work. So
got it. Like even in my case, there are some Adobe softwares that we can
yeah,
only run on Windows. There's
Windows.
like Microsoft Word, Office, everything. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's the issue. But yeah, it's like I heard a lot of stories like Java and Kotlin, how people start with Java and then they have to shift to Kotlin because eventually like
definitely.
everything's shifting to Kotlin nowadays
Yeah.
in Android. So
You should shift it. Like if you are currently also, if you are building Android apps using Java, I would highly recommend you to shift to Kotlin. Basically, not directly shift, just start learning about Kotlin, and it will be easy for you. Like if you already know Java, the difference will be the syntax, because the compiler is also same. Like you don't have to install any another compiler. The JVM, the Kotlin code will also compile in the JVM only, and you just the difference will be in the syntax, and there will be a much more cleaner and concise code which you write in Kotlin. So yeah, like it's a good practice
yeah,
to shift to a
like
Kotlin for
Kotlin
Android.
also makes it easier than Java, I guess, because like the
Yeah,
lines of
that the
code you
learning curve
write
is also
in
easier. Yeah,
Java.
definitely. Like if you want to, like if you want to print hello world in Java, you have to write 6 lines of code. In Kotlin, just print
Yeah.
ln hello world, done.
And yeah, that's why like a lot of things are shifting to Kotlin these days. So what
Yeah,
about Opia?
yeah.
Like Opia was using
Okay.
Kotlin since the beginning, or they are
Yeah, like
shifting to it?
when I started with Opia, it is in Kotlin, and like previously also like say in Kotlin, in Opia, we follow all best practices. So we are using view bindings, we are using like a modern Android architecture basically. So we follow all the modern Android things which are coming on the way. So like what I suggest guess is like we are using Kotlin since last 4 to 5 years.
Okay,
And
so
like
like
Opia is
that
participating in
time it was
GSOC. Yeah, Opia is participating in GSOC since last 6 years. This is seventh year, I guess.
okay. Well, like so that's an organization that you would want to see these days in this year also. Uh,
Yeah,
so,
definitely. Yeah, like
yeah.
we are not sure about any org, but mostly it would participate in next year also, because like if we see the past history, it is participating consistently from last 6 years.
Yeah. Okay, so now moving on to the next question. Like, there's one question that I get constantly, and that is, let's say I'm a beginner, like I'm a first year student, let's say. So, and I want to get started with open source. I want to go into GSOC. I want to find an organization. I just want to go with any domain. I know, let's say I know Python. So I wanna look
Okay.
for any organization. I wanna contribute. I wanna start contributing in them, and eventually I want to find my way through GSOC. So what kind of roadmap or like how would you mentor me to go for it? Like how should I approach?
Okay, so first of all, like you, as you said, like you already know Python, then it's great. Like you already know one tech stack, right? Then yeah, just check that website, goodfirstissues.dev, or also on GitHub, we have this explore option. You can explore the projects which are trending and find projects related to Python. And yeah, basically the first thing you should do is to select an organization, or I can say a repository which uses Python. Then read the documentation first of all, like what they have a readme doc. Read the installation guide, read what they are doing, learn about the basic architecture. Not learn about everything, but just go through the documentation once. That's what I could say. And then navigate to the issues tab and check the good first issues. So basically, if for every repo like which are following some good open source practices, you will find good first issues. So just filter your issues with good first label, and check that issue, and in that issue just click on that issue and and you can comment on that issue that, hey, like I want to work on this issue, and the reviewer will assign it to you, and this way you can start your contribution. Now the thing is that most of people know this process, that like we have to find good first issues, we have to go to threes, but still they are not doing it. Why? Because they think that they don't know anything, because like they're beginners. And I'm saying this, that this is not a case for beginners. Even who already know development, still they face this thing. Like and in software development we have this thing called imposter syndrome. So what, like whatever we know, we still think that we don't know anything. Okay, so I could just say like, it's okay if you don't know anything, and even not anyone in the world know everything. Okay, even the organization or the org admin of the repo also didn't know everything about the project. So I could just say, get started. Okay, learn in the process. Don't think that, oh, there is so much of code. Like in Android also, like when I just getting started, I see lots of repositories in Android. Okay, so whatever projects I've created previously, I just have 3 to 4 packages or modules. But in this, even we have even 5 modules. Like we have app layer, we have domain layer, we have testing layer, we have utility layer. So we have different kinds of layer, and inside each layer we have around, I could say, hundreds of packages inside it, inside each layer. So if like any beginner just go through that code, he will just get blow his mind, like, oh man, what is this? There is so many of code. How can I understand? How can I go through this? So I would just say, don't get panic. First of all, read the documentation, because in most of the organizations, I could say, they have written a very well documented documentation. Okay, so documentation will be really a great help for any beginner. And even if you don't know find any help from the documentation, just ping the org admin or anyone from that organization. And I have done this thing. Okay, so even still, like if I'm solving any problem in the GSOC, and if I'm not able to solve it, if I have any questions, I just mail my mentor that, hey, like I'm stuck in this and I want to solve this issue. So just ask the questions. I can say, ask it. Don't think much that it will be a silly question, or it will be like how someone will judge you. Just ask questions. And yes, but there is one thing before asking question. Learn the skill of googling. Okay, so I have seen this thing, like even if you have to do very small thing, you will ask your mentor. It's okay to ask the questions, as I said, but first of all, do your own research. Okay, search it on Google. If there is someone else who have also faced some same issue, then they have written the answer on Stack Overflow. There are many various websites. So just Google it, and if you don't find the answer, you can ask the question directly to the anyone from the organization. And you can also mention that, hey, like I also searched on my site from Google, and if you have learned anything from that answer, just mention that I know that this is happening because of this issue, but after that I don't know what are the next steps. So if you write the question in such a way, then the reply, the person who wants to reply will also know that, okay, this person has already done his research, and he's actually stuck in this question. So I could say, just learn how to ask good questions, and you will learn this great skill through open source. Even I have learned this, like previously also, like I was not able to ask questions properly. Like my mentor asked me, like, okay, tell me what you have searched on your own, tell me what you have done from your side, then we will guide you like what are the next steps. So I can just say, first search from your side, then ask the mentor that, hey, like I have searched this thing from my side, and now I want to know what are the next steps. And always, like the and anyone, like the org admin or the person whom you are asking, will reply to you. That's what I could say. Yeah, so ask questions as much as possible as a beginner, and just get started. Like don't think like, hey, like how can I do this thing, like I didn't do anything. Don't you just think that I want to contribute. It's okay if I don't know, I will ask the questions. That's it. That's the best answer I could say.
Yep, got it. So in my case, if I am a beginner, asking questions is very important from what I can take
Definitely.
away
And
from
also asking good questions.
asking good questions. So
Yes.
not just questions, but you need to do some research before asking your
Yes.
question. That I know that much. I'm aware of the terms and everything. Now I'm stuck in this particular part, so I want to know about it.
Hmm.
So I can like ask out my mentors or anyone about the
Yeah.
issue. So yeah. Also, like as we've already talked about, as a beginner, going into a repository, looking at the code base, it looks overwhelming, you know, like
Definitely.
let's say I am going to an Android repository. Let's take Opia for example,
Yeah.
and I'm going through the code base. So at first, if I just look at the code, look at the folders and everything, it will be just like अरे ये क्या देख लिया मैंने, like that would be
Yeah.
so much cumbersome. So as a beginner, like what would you suggest how to like just go for it? How can I just start? How can I make my first contribution?
Yeah, so that's what I said previously. Like, just pick up a good first issue, pick any issue which you want to work, and yeah, just get started and learn about that issue in the process. It's okay. Like, see, whenever you pick issue, remember this formula in mind. At least you just need to know around 20 to 30% about the issue. It's okay, like that you don't know everything about the issue. Just take it and in the process learn about that thing. Don't, if you don't know, ask good question. You will get the response from your mentor or anyone from the admin from the organization, and yeah, you will solve it. So yeah, this is the basically the process. First, like find organization, find issue in it, then comment on that issue, then ask questions if you are stuck anywhere, and your PR will be much.
Okay, so about that, how much should I know about the code base? Let's say you have a lot of files, you have a lot of projects. How much of the code base should I be aware of before
Yes, as I
to
say, you
start
just need to know around
that?
10 to 20%. Like, it's okay. Even if like if you find any big project, they are using multiple languages. Like if you are familiar with Python, it may be possible that the project uses Python as well as Rust as well as 2 3 JavaScript, 2 3 more languages. Okay, it's not, you won't find project which uses only Python. It will be difficult. Okay, so most of the projects will use multiple languages to build a whole end-to-end project. So it's okay if you don't know everything about the project. If I would say just know 10 to 20%, and then when you get started, learn about the other technologies, and you can also ask for the resources. Like, you can also ask for your mentors. Like, if for example in Android we are using MVVM pattern, okay, you don't know what is MVVM, you can learn it from Google or anywhere. And even and still, if you didn't know the thing what is it, you can ask your mentors also. They will also assist you from where you can learn. And even in Opia, I can say we have created a documentation for everything. Like, for testing also, we have explained it from zero, like how, what is testing and how you can write test. So I can say, just like, go ahead with the documentation and ask questions. That is the, I can say, the answer for every question.
Yep, yep. So another question I was just thinking about it, is that how do I connect with good mentors? Let's say I found a
Okay.
project. So how do I
Hmm.
connect with mentors? How do I find people who can help me?
Okay. So every organization mostly have some group, some communication channels. So you can check their website. So in that they have mentioned it. So either they are on Slack, they are using Gitter, they are using Discord or any communication. So you can join that communication channel, and from there you can write that, hey, like you can give your intro, and you can ask your questions there, and you can also say like, hey, I'm working on this issue, I need some mentor. And also, uh, on issue on which you are working, there is some reviewer or some the code owner of that issue. So you can also reach out to that particular code owner of that issue if you are facing any difficulty. And also you can write in that issue itself, like, hey, like I need help to solve this issue. I want some mentor, or I need some person who can guide me, who can assist me. So from there also you can get assistance.
Okay, so in that case, I can just go to the GSOC website. I can find
Hmm.
organizations. I can just
Yeah.
there's a chat, there's a connect section, I guess. There's some button, so I can just check out
Okay.
that button, and I'll be redirected to the Gitter, Discord, or
Yes.
any channel
Hmm.
that they use, and
Yeah.
I can just write my introduction there. I can write
Yes.
about the things I'm working on, about the tech stacks that I'm familiar with, and yeah, that should be good to go, I guess.
Yeah, and this is actually important. See why I'm saying this? Because if you are like targeting for some open source programs like Google Summer of Code, they will see your previous contributions. And even if you don't have contributed much, still you if you have made a good impression in the community, your chances for getting selected are better. So I'm saying from my personal experience, like I have merged around, I've started contributing for GSOC since last September and October. Okay, September from last October, I made my I've started with my contribution in Opia, and the GSOC is in next year, like in this year's March. So I started 6 months earlier, and uh, still like in 6 months also, it's not like I have contributed around, like I have merged my 15 or 20 PRs. I have merged around 6 to 7 PRs only, but that PRs are quality PRs, and I attended each and every meeting on every week. So in this, like I'm not sure about every organization, but mostly who are who are like good open source organization, they have these weekly sync ups, not weekly, but at least they have around monthly or bi-weekly sync ups. So you can join these meetings, and from that also you can ask your from there you can learn what other contributors are doing, where the project is going on, what are their future uh, like future thinking, what they want to do in future. Then you will learn everything about your organization. Okay, so join in these meetings and ask questions. So from these meetings, the contributors, the org admins will know that okay, you are a part of this organization, like you are participating in meetings, you are asking questions, so they know your involvement in the community. Okay, so if you are not able to contribute much, just join these meetings regularly. Okay, this will really help you a lot. Okay, I'm saying this from personal experience, like this really helped me. Like since last October, I mostly attend each and every weekly meetings. In Opia we have meetings on every Tuesday, so I've attended meetings on every Tuesday. And if you are not able to join the meeting, you can also say that hey, like I'm not able to join this meeting, I am having my exams or I'm having this issue. So you can tell them, but be consistent with that, and it will really help you in the long run.
Okay. So I also want to ask about competitions. Like there are a lot of people who are who just want to get into GSOC. Like they all a lot of people, like all they can think about is GSOC. Like how do I get into it? So what are your personal thoughts on that? Like how was the competition around GSOC, and um, how do you like uh, get into like that crowd, and how do you highlight yourself in that crowd, and how is all that?
Okay, so my first advice will be don't do open source just for GSOC. Okay, if you do it just
Exactly,
for
like
GSOC, if you just do it for GSOC, then I could say maybe you will be selected. I'm not saying that you won't get selected, but the motivation behind open source should be that you want to learn something, you want to build connections, you want to gain some skills. That's what the motive should be for open source. And yeah, you are telling true that I have seen lots of people who are doing open source just for GSOC. So I can say do open source, but not only for GSOC. And why I'm also telling it why. So see what happens. Like this kind of people mostly do open source when the GSOC came. So GSOC will be mostly the organization will be released around March. So these people will start contributing from March. Okay. Now the organization already knows that as this person started from March, mostly he's doing contribution for like for GSOC, and as a part of organization, I could say we want people in GSOC who is doing open source, not just for GSOC. Why? Because see, GSOC is just a one program, but the open source will be there every time. Okay, like even after GSOC, as an organization, we want open source contributors to contribute to our project. So we select contributors based not on based on their previous contributions, and this is why it is important to do contributions even before the timeline started. Okay, so yeah, like that's it. Like don't do it just for GSOC, and to get apart, to stand out from this competition, I would say change your mindset and do open source to learn the thing, and you will definitely get selected. I would say, like if you have done some previous contributions, you will be selected. And also, like to get selected in GSOC, it's not that you just have to do your previous contributions. There are much more factors which are there, like you have to write a proposal, right? So you need to spend a good amount of time in writing your proposal, then also get some time to get it review from your mentor. And yeah, we will discuss it more when we talk about the GSOC in detail. So yeah, that's what I could say.
Great, great. So one advice is that not just go into GSOC because it's a good program, it provides good stipend and everything. Go to it because it's like the a program that promotes open source, and the value
Yes.
that open source provides you is like it's immense. So let's talk about that. Like, what are
Okay.
your personal benefits that you have received in making on open source contributions? Why do you
Okay.
think that we should promote open source? Why we should encourage everyone to make open source contributions?
Sure. So, see, one of the best skill I learned is communication. So, communication is really important as a developer. So, you need to learn this skill of asking questions. As I said, in open source, you are required to ask a good questions. So, as you ask more and more questions in open source, while doing open source, you will learn this art of asking good questions, and it will eventually help you in your career ahead. Like if you are doing an internship or a job, if you already good in communication, you most of the things are sorted for you. Okay, so one of the best skill is the communication. Then another thing is you know how to write good quality code, because see, in personal projects what happens is we write a code just to make it work. Okay, if we think that okay ये code चल रहा है,
Yeah,
done. Okay, you
that's
don't
right.
think much about its like modularity, uh, testability, that whether that code is testable or not, how to do testing. You don't know much things about this. Okay, even like I've learned about Android testing while I've joined Opia. Okay, so after doing my first contribution mostly is related to the testing only. So I learned the testing through open source only. Okay, like in my personal project, I haven't used I anytime like कभी मैंने use नहीं किया testing. Okay, and mostly like even if we are building our personal projects, we don't do testing. Okay,
I
so
don't
yeah,
think
you
in
will.
personal projects anyone do testing here.
Yeah,
Like,
no one will do a testing. Okay, so if you are doing contribution in open source, you have to write a code such that it is testable. Okay, so that you should able to test it. So this is another thing that you will learn how to write a testable code, a good concise code, modular code. And another thing is creating documentation. So whatever new feature in Opia, we have this thing like whatever new feature we add or new thing we add, we have to write a documentation for it, and it will be added in the wiki page. So you will learn the art of writing documentation. Okay, so in open source is not just about coding. So in open source you can also like improve the documentation of any organization. Okay, so yeah, this is another thing that you learn about the documentation. And one of the last thing I could say is like definitely you learn how to get the skill as a developer. Like see, like in personal projects mostly it won't be get used by most of the people. Like like whatever hackathon project you have created, it will be there on the GitHub repository and it won't be getting used by anyone. But the open source project which you are creating is actually creating impact. Okay, it is getting used by millions of people. So you get a chance to work on such a project which is actually getting used. So whenever you go in any industrial project, or if you are working in an internship or in a job, you already have an experience or you already have an exposure to work in a real life project which is actually getting used by so many users. Okay, so basically you get an experience to write a production level code. So yeah, these are some of the benefits. And another benefit, you can also mention your open source contributions in your resume. Okay, I've seen this thing. Even I am mentioning it that like hey, like I am doing open source contribution in this organization since last 1 year. Basically, like yeah, around 1 year I am doing contribution, open source contribution. So you can mention your contributions in resume also, and it will really create impact. And another thing, your GitHub will look good. More greener your GitHub will be, more better it looks. And yeah, so your GitHub will also be improved. And so whenever, like currently the scenario is that the people also ask your GitHub. So whenever the interviewer checks your GitHub, he checks that oh, this person has contributed in lots of open source projects, he's doing valuable contribution, so it will help you to get a good job. Even recently I get a chance to interview in one of the great company just because of my open source contribution. So the value is like limitless, I can say. Just get started, and that's all I can say.
And there's one comment in the chat section: "How to be as good as Vraj sir?"
Arre,
So
yeah,
you
just
seem
be
to be pretty.
consistent. Yeah.
You seems to be pretty famous here.
Okay. Thank you for that compliment, but yeah. So I'm not saying that as good as me. You can be a better than me. One I can say. Just be consistent. And yeah, one more thing from this I can say. Don't compare yourself with anyone. Okay. Even when I get started with my open source, I check the other contributors and I say, oh, this person has done 12 contributions and I have done only three. I'm very behind that person. Don't compare yourself with anyone. Just compare yourself with your previous version. Okay. So try to be a better version of yourself and don't compare yourself with others. It will help you in your long run. That's what I can say. Yeah. So don't compare yourself with me. Okay. Don't ask like how you can be like me. Even ask how you can improve yourself. Then whatever you are 1 year ago or like 1 month ago, and what things you have to do to become better. That's it.
Yeah, like what we can say is just get started with it. Like
Yeah, get
once you get
started.
started, once you see
Just go
some
ahead.
issues, once you find
Hmm.
some good first issue, you will just automatically be redirected into that path. You'll learn more about it once you get started into that chat section. Once you interact with a mentor, I guess everything like start forming a way around that.
Yeah, that
So
icebreaker of doing your first contribution is the most like difficult step I could say. And when you just contribute in one or two issues, you will automatically get motivation to do more. Okay, so like in starting, it is really difficult to do it. So yeah, don't lose your motivation and just do it that you want to do.
yep, and one thing that I can take away is that you don't need to know all of the code base. You just need
Definitely,
to
like
know a
you don't need to
specific
learn
percentage,
everything.
and
Yeah,
that should be enough. So
yeah,
it's
definitely.
good to hear. Yeah, because like a lot of people confuse around that because they look into a repository and they see, oh, that's so much, like itna kaise padunga main? And then they
Right.
just get demotivated कि अब तो छोड़ो यार इतना तो नहीं हो पाएगा, and just go for it. So that's the advice that we can give you all.
Yeah.
So yeah, moving on to the next questions. How did you first hear about open source? Like how सबसे पहले कैसे पता चला कि open source कुछ होता भी है? The first,
Open source.
very first. Yes.
Okay, so open source contribution maybe I learned from Kunal Kushwaha. So yeah, I could say from him I learn about it. So that would be my answer.
Okay, yeah, like I also have a kind of similar story. I was just randomly browsing through the YouTube and found his video. So yeah, like Kunal Kashu also inspired me to go for open source. So we have the same journey around that. And I know a lot of people who go into open source by just randomly browsing through YouTube and finding something
Definitely.
that just suddenly felt interesting to them, and then they started contributing. And then there's sessions like that where we kind of promote open source. So a lot of beginners, if any of you haven't started your open source journey yet and you're watching the stream, so we would encourage you all to go for it. Just also, it's not that you have to start with a big organization. Like some things that I learned is that even you can host your own projects in GitHub. Like मैंने एक
Yeah.
अच्छा project बनाया, मैंने उसको open source कर दिया. After that, like some people around myself started contributing in that. So I have an open source project of myself in that. So it's a good thing, like that's very basic to begin with. You can just host your own projects in GitHub. Let's say you're working on a website and the website looks cool. It's your portfolio website, let's say. So you can just open source that website. You can share the code on GitHub, and you can just create a good README. You can write a documentation around that. You can even create a template from that. That it's a portfolio template. I know some projects that includes a portfolio template or something, and
Yes.
people can like edit the links, and they can make create their own portfolio through that. So that's also some great open source projects, I guess, that you can begin with. Just start with
Sure.
yourself, and you can
Yeah.
find
You
your way
can
around that.
you can join the communities basically like Addy Hub communities there. also SemiKolan community which Ankur is running. Then yeah, like be a part of community. You will get the help. Like any help you want, you can get it from communities. So yeah, you're part of communities.
Like communities are a great way to get started. You get to know about a lot of things through the community. Even myself, I get started with communities also. I am a part of EduHub also. Then there are a lot of communities. There's Force Asia, if you are
How's Asia?
familiar with it. So
Yeah.
I also made some contributions in that also previously. So communities are great. They encourage you, and even if you face any issues or something, you can ask it around in the community. You can interact with people. We now have Raj here, so if there's anything, he'll
You
be
can de-
there. He'll be there in the community, so you can always interact with him. You can always ask out your doubts around open source, GSOC, anything. So, since it's also Hectoberfest going on, let's also talk about that. So,
yeah.
how was your journey in Hectoberfest? When did you start it, and how many PRs did you make?
Yeah, so like I was a little bit fishy, like whether my four PRs are actually accepted or not. So I've done more than four. I have done 5 to 6 PRs, and yeah, yeah. So like I would just say do like do PR in Hectoberfest, not just to get T-shirt. Learn the way how open source works and make a valid proper contributions, because I know that there are people who are doing Hectoberfest just to get T-shirt. So yeah, don't do it. That's a advice I could say. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So no, it's also a long program. It's been running since
Yeah,
like
it's
11 years. So
yeah, it's a 11th edition, I guess. Yeah, 10th edition. Yeah.
yeah, it's 11th year, and every October they do this, and it's like really great. Like in my college, I see some folks who've been contributing in Hectoberfest since like the last 2 to 3 years, and it's like they're constant, and that's what that looks very really good to me. That people are really contributing to open source to the program, and not just for T-shirt, but they are constant. Like it's a starting point for them, and after that they are just they keep going with the contribution, so it looks good. So about that, how did you find good repositories for Hectoberfest, or like apart from Opia, any other organizations that you're contributing in right now, or any other open source projects that you're working on?
Yeah. So currently, like I'm just contributing to Opia, and yeah, like as a other, I could say like I contributed to IdeaHub, like just to learn about how to make PR and how to do open source. So I made there is this link free repository of IdeaHub. So there I have like posted created my profile. Then yeah, if you want to get started, you can definitely check it out. So you can check out the various repositories on IdeaHub. So one of the famous is Linktree. You know the Linktree, right? So basically you can create your own profile like Linktree using that in that repo. You just have to made a small changes, and your profile will be created. So yeah, that's what I get started when I was contributing. And yeah, like in Oktoberfest I found issues basically through this website, goodfirst-issues.dev. And also like I checked some explore, there is an explore section on GitHub. So from that also I found some cool projects. Then we can also filter out through Oktoberfest tag. So like they have made this thing like whatever projects are accepted in Oktoberfest, they have Oktoberfest tag. So you can also filter it out through Oktoberfest tag. So yeah, from that you can find the repositories.
Yeah, like that's good to hear, because a lot of people need to get started. And EduHub is something that is really a great way to get started. Like I have been
Sure,
associated with that community, and it's like very welcoming to you also. You
sure.
can just join in on their Discord. You can make your introductions. You can interact with others. You can share that, oh, I'm a beginner. How do I get started? And there will be a lot of people to help you out, and that's essentially what community does. It provides you with resources. It you get to learn a lot about that. So that's a great way. Now moving on to the next questions. How was your experience contributing to Opia Foundation? Uh, I guess you answered it also a bit,
Yeah.
but if you want to add
The,
anything more to it, you can
Yeah, so
also
yeah,
do
the
that.
experience is pretty good. I could say like we are following some best practices, like we follow discipline. So like every week we have this weekly meetings where we have to give update like what we are working on and where we are stuck. So yeah, so it's pretty good. Like we have a very good documentation, and also like I'm a part of various teams in Opia. Like I'm an onboarding mentor, so whenever any new contributor joins, I will be assigned as a mentor for him or her. Then I'm also a part of Android welfare team. So in Opia we run this team, Android welfare team, the welfare team, basically to check the progress of the repository, like what are the issues which contributors are facing, and how to make this open source organization a more welcoming, and how to get more contributors who can contribute to Opia. So I could say like we are doing so many things to help the new contributors, new beginners. And one of the best thing is that whenever you join Opia, you will be assigned a mentor, and that mentor will help you to complete your first two PRs. And after you complete your first two PRs, you will be a part of a team in Opia. So we have these different teams according like in, and we are actually have two repositories. One is Opia Android and one is Opia Web. So if you are a web developer, you can also join Opia. So you can contribute to the website of Opia. And if you are an Android dev, you can join the Android part of the Opia. So in that also like we have different teams. Like in web we have front end and back end team. Then in Android we have a developer team. We have a client team where which solves issues related to a user, which solve user facing issues. So yeah, that's what I can say.
Great. So, moving on to the next question. We've talked a lot about GSOC.
Yeah.
Now, what are some other programs that you would recommend checking out to the folks? Like
Sure. So there are
any
lots
other
of
program?
program. Yeah. So GSOC is not the only program, though it is most famous program, but it is not an only program for open source. So the one of the best program I could highly recommend is MLH Fellowship. So yeah, definitely the applications as are currently open, so you can apply in MLH Fellowship. Then apart from MLH Fellowship, there is this program called Linux Foundation. So if you are more into DevOps side, or you want to contribute to the tools which came under Linux Foundation, then you can check it out. So LFX mentorship is there. Then Summer of Bitcoin is there. So yeah, it is also pretty good program. Then some hyperledger mentorship is there. There are lots of programs, like you can get list of around 25 plus programs or open source programs, and these all are paid programs, and you will get around 1,500 to $3,000 stipend. There is this program outreach is also there, but it is mostly for underprivileged people. So yeah, but in the program like outreach, you will get stipend of around 5 to 6,000 US dollars. So yeah, there are so many programs which pay you lots of good stipend.
Yeah, and apart from that, I also know some programs that I was associated with. So that includes Girl Script Summer of Code, if you're
Yeah, the script
familiar with
summer
it.
of code. Yes.
So there's Girl Script Summer of Code. There's also a social winter of code that
Yeah, but
they
script is
happen.
organizing. Okay, no, so
Yeah,
social winter of code is different. Okay, yeah.
yeah, and apart from that, there was a community known as TechSite, so they also did some program around that. I'm not sure
Yes.
about this year, but previously they have this known as Infinite Loan Conspiracy, and you can just check it out. A lot of programs are going on in open source.
Definitely.
Even we are conducting if we are if you wish to contribute under Hectoberfest, so we have some repositories, some projects from our side also in SemiKolan and GDSC UIT RGPV community. So you all can go to semicolon.co/Hectoberfest, and there are a list of open source repositories under which you can make your contributions. And we also have a cool leaderboard and we are also rewarding top contributors. So that's also a
Oh,
program that
nice.
we are conducting right now. And yeah, apart from that, a lot of things are there. You don't need to be associated with a particular program if you want to get started with open source. You can just get started anytime you want. It's like a code base open to you 24/7, and you can contribute in it anytime. So that's a really good thing. And I even know some people who include their GitHub files in their portfolio profile. If someone
Yeah.
asks for their portfolio website. They just include their GitHub profile, and
Yes,
it's like good, and people can do that because
definitely.
let's say even in my case, I'm not a web developer, so I don't have a portfolio website, so I can just share my GitHub profile. Though I created one in Flutter, so that's also a thing, but we can do that also. So it's a good thing. Now, there's also one question. I think we've answered this, but if there's anything more that you would like to add. So the question is: suppose I'm a web developer and I want to get into GSOC. So how do I search for organizations that interest me? So we talked about Android. Now, what about web or any other domain that's not a
Okay,
generic?
so this
So,
thing, like, you just go to the Google Summer of Codes website, and in that there are the filters available. You can filter your organization according to your tech stack. So yeah, that's what. And there is also this one website like gsocorganizations.dev. I'm not sure about its actual name, but there is this website. From there you can also get the past history of the organizations which are participating, and there also you can filter it according to the tech stack. So you can check it out.
okay, cool. So, yeah, like these are all the questions that I have with me. Now, apart from that, anything else? If anyone from the comment section want to ask out any doubts, and if anyone wants to hop in into the live stream, you can also do that. I'll share the StreamYard link. And if you want to interact with our speaker, interact with us, you can join us in the StreamYard link also. So I'll just share the link in the chat section. Here's the StreamYard joining link. So you all can also join us here. If any of you want to, I'll be happy to add you to the stream. And apart from that, if there's any other doubts that you want to ask, anything else, feel free to ask it out in the chat section. Um, okay, a lot of good emojis I can see. If anyone else want to join us in the live stream, want to ask out anything, feel free to join us. I shared the link here. Apart from that, we also have a lot more events coming on. Uh, just keep checking out the Hectoberfest website, and a lot more things coming your way. And a huge shout out to Vraj for coming into the session.
Yeah,
All the things
thank
that you
you.
shared are really insightful, and I hope we can like keep doing such sessions. And if any of you have any other doubts, anything you would like to ask from Vraj, you all can connect with him. He's active on Twitter, LinkedIn, everywhere. You can just search for him, and he's a pretty famous guy. You can just search for the name and
I'm not that
Bill
famous.
Gag, I
Yeah.
see.
Okay.
Okay, so apart from that, anything else you would like to share with regarding GSOC, regarding your journey,
Yeah.
regarding open
So
source?
first of all, I would like to thank you to invite
Yeah.
me and giving me this opportunity to spread the knowledge about open source. And yeah, definitely, like as the title suggests, demystifying open source. I would just say, don't think much about anything that like what I can do. Like I didn't do anything or how can I get started. Just search repository, go to that issues tab, find good first issue, comment on that and start contributing. That's what I could say. And yeah, don't, and please remove this imposter syndrome. I know it's difficult, but yeah, don't feel that you didn't do anything. You just have this learning mindset in your mind that whenever something comes, I will learn it on the way. And you don't fear from learning. And I could say, like, learn as much as possible in the process, and don't think that no, I don't want to learn this, I don't want to learn this. Learn each and everything which came in the process while doing open source. Nothing will harm you. Okay, so yeah, just do it. And that's
Yep.
it from my
So
side.
just go for it. That's what we would
Yeah,
suggest. Now again, let's just wait for 1 or 2 minutes if anyone wanna come into the StreamYard stream or ask out any doubts. And other than that, we can just like wrap up the session. So let's see. If anyone is willing to come here, you all are very much welcome to join. But it's great. I was talking to Vraj about all the things he's doing, and open source is really great. Like you can get started, you can even get opportunities in like in your career forward, and everything is just amazing. How the communities work and everything. So yeah, I think if there's no one else.
I guess we
Yeah,
can
I
end.
think if there's
Yeah.
yeah, if there's no one else, we can just end the session. So
Sure.
once again, thank you all for joining in. Thank you, Vraj. Thank you all the communities. Thank you for the GDSC, UIT, RGPV, and SemiKolan for hosting this session. And yeah, like it's cool. Like, we'll keep doing such sessions in the upcoming time also. And we really hope that you learn something and that you'll start making your first contributions from this live stream. And yeah, that this is it. We can end this session. Thank you, Raj, and thank you all for joining.